Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, when the euro was launched, a lot of things were said, some of them correct, some of them not. One of the most currently debated aspects of the euro was whether or not it was going to make life easier for common people, whether it was going to increase prosperity or not. And one of the aspects of that was whether or not, as a result of the euro, there'd be greater price transparency across Europe. In other words, whether people would be able to compare prices for the same things. And according to some economic theory, if people can compare prices, then they're likely to refuse to pay ridiculously high amounts for something that's available elsewhere more cheaply, and they're going to start questioning the pricing policy of different items. In other words, over the long run, having comparable prices should mean that prices tend to fall towards an average that is reasonably low. With that in mind, it's interesting to look at the regular statistics that come out of Eurostat, looking at price surveys across Europe to see whether there is indeed any sort of euro effect on prices. And I have to say, from what I can see, there isn't. I mean, of course, I'm not a statistical expert, so I can't really interpret what I'm told. You have to be an absolute genius to interpret statistics, and in some countries you have to be even better at it than others, but I won't name any names when it comes to statistics and countries. I'll just stick to a few things I found out, which I found interesting. First of all, one of the staple aspects of civilization, whiskey. A bottle of whiskey costs 80% more in Amsterdam than in Rome. And in general, whiskey is more expensive in the north than in the south. Similarly, if you're the kind of rather weak person who gets a hangover after just one bottle of whiskey, your hangover is more expensive to treat in Amsterdam than in Rome. A standard aspirin costs about 70% more in Amsterdam than in Rome. There are all sorts of other interesting variations like that. For instance, the most expensive place in Europe to buy nappies, apparently, is in Germany. Now, why exactly nappies are 46% more expensive in Frankfurt than in Paris, I don't know. What does that say about the child-friendly policies or lack of them in Germany as opposed to France? But what's really fascinating is that you have these big variations. For fairly standard products, an aspirin is exactly the same wherever it's sold. Nappies are exactly the same, and I imagine babies' backsides are exactly as nice or as unpleasant, depending on which angle you're looking at them from, whether you're in Germany or in France. And yet you have these vast price differences, which at least now have become apparent because you can see them all in euros. Does that mean, however, that people are going to start traveling backwards and forwards to buy nappies or aspirins? Well, I rather doubt it. And I suppose that's really why the euro hasn't driven prices lower in general. It's simply too complicated to go across borders and to go long distances to buy stuff. And as long as that's the case, prices are going to stay pretty much where they are. Thank you.